Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. On those occasions when I lead a study involving the book of Psalms, I will often mention that the Psalms made up ancient Israel's hymn book. Those were the hymns they used in similar ways to how we use hymns today. Hymns are poetry, and Psalms are poetry, and they speak to us differently than other scriptures. They speak in images that evoke our imaginations and paint grander pictures of God and life with God. It is one of my favorite suggestions to people that during the time you are waiting for worship to begin, it's a great idea to read the hymns that you will use that day. By reading them, you are more likely to catch the meaning, and then when you sing them, your worship is enhanced. So, we're going to be dealing with both hymns and psalms this week, because you see, some of the hymns we know and love are in fact based on some of the psalms. In other words, the writer of a psalm inspired the writer of a hymn. There are numerous psalms and hymns that work together this way, but I have found 5 psalms fairly close together that each inspired a hymn that we know and love. So I'm going to share some of that this week. We're going to start with Psalm 87 and its connection to the hymn, Glorious Things of You Are Spoken. Perhaps the first thing to note is that the hymn, Glorious Things of You Are Spoken, was written by John Newton. His name might ring a bell because he was the person who wrote the well-known hymn, Amazing Grace. Glorious Things of You Are Spoken speaks of giving God praise and how God is a sure foundation for our lives and cannot be shaken. It uses the walled city of Jerusalem, or Zion as it is called, as a symbol of that strength and fortitude. Throughout the hymn there are images of heaven with clouds and rivers and banners in God's throne room, providing shade and refreshment and praise to God. There's even a reference to manna to remind us of our dependence on God. As the hymn goes along, all God does for us, keeping us, watching over us, providing for us, leads to a greater and greater proclamation of praise. By the time we reach the end, our hearts must almost be seething with fervor for God. So, now let's turn to Psalm 87, which opens like this. On the holy mount stands the city he founded. The Lord loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Glorious things are spoken of you, O city of God. In those 3 simple verses, the psalmist lifts up what it means to be God's people. Jerusalem is their capital, representing the nation, again called Zion, and the psalmist points out how it is God's city, God's home, wrapped and caught up in God's glory. Indeed, speaking well of God's city is to speak well of God. And these verses, lifting up God's people, points to how great God is. That's the sense that Newton was seeking to capture in this hymn, to highlight how wondrous God is and how we express our praise to God. There are some interesting stories associated with this hymn, one involving the fact that this text fits well to several well-known tunes. During World War II, some prisoners attempted to sing it and were joined by their German guards who sang a different song to the same tune. Another little tidbit about Glorious Things of You Are Spoken comes from the time during the American Civil War. The hymn was a favorite of Confederate General Stonewall Jackson. He is noted to have once awakened his soldiers in 1862 while they were in the Shenandoah Valley by singing Glorious Things of Thee Are Spoken. However, it's remembered that he did this because he sang it badly out of tune. Now that I think about it, any way that we sing God's praises is done well. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.